All right, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin, and this is Smell Goods. Appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate you clicking on the video, checking it out. Hope everything is going your way. Hope you're having an amazing day as you're watching this. I've got something that has been blowing up really recently in some of the Facebook groups that I'm part of, just dedicated to fragrances, and picked it up. And if there's one of the things you'll learn about me is I think sometimes in music, and the song that is playing in my head right now is Public Enemy, Don't Believe the Hype. Don't believe the hype. So we're going to talk about that fragrance today. I'm going to give you my honest, no holds barred review of it. I'm not trashing it. That's not how I do on this channel. But I will give you some thoughts as far as this fragrance and what I think about it and why I think the way I do about it. All right. So, and we're going to clear up some misconceptions about this particular fragrance because I've seen it compared to something that I kind of get it, but no, it's not. All right. Of course, I am talking about by Banana Republic. We're talking about Midnight Hour. That's it right there. So, picked this up at Burlington. Had seen, like I said, in some of the Facebook groups that I'm in dedicated to fragrances, had seen folks, oh my goodness, this is amazing. This is wonderful. This is just the next greatest thing. If you find it, get it. I saw it. I was like, okay, let me check it out. So far, because I haven't really had any misses with Banana Republic fragrances. And I wouldn't say that this is a miss, if you will, but it is, it kind of does become a miss when you're set up thinking one thing and then you get a different thing and it doesn't even do that different thing the way that it probably could. All right. And I'll tell you some interesting things about this. So I've gotten some great things from Banana Republic as far as Tobacco and Tonka Bean, great fragrance. Again, I'm not expecting them to be beast mode performance as far as lasting 30 hours or anything of that nature. But as far as scents that I can use for intermediate things, use as even layering, they've not led me wrong. You know, Dark Cherry and Amber, which I call a poor man's French defense. Even some of the what is it, Metal Rain, which is a decent Silver Mountain Water clone or fragrance type of fragrance. So this one has been compared to Creed Aventus. And in fact, again, Midnight Hour. In fact, today or yesterday, as I'm filming this, someone in one of the chats was basically saying, oh, this is the best Creed Aventus clone. First of all, sir, have you smelled Creed Aventus? It's in the vein. I'll give you that. I have just a little sample of Creed here that I keep around just as a way to kind of compare, especially when I'm doing things that are supposed to be in that vein. I want to compare the OG to the remix cover clone. So it's in the DNA, if you will, third, fourth, fifth cousin of Creed Aventus, but it's not a Creed Aventus clone. But then they went on further to say that it's the best one out there, and they named off a few. Sir, ma'am, I don't know. I can't remember. Have you smelled this Mont Blanc Explorer, which I think is probably one of the best Creed Aventus clones. In fact, I've heard people refer to this as Baby Creed. It's just that good. Have you smelled the Supremacy? I've got the silver one, does a decent job of it. Not the best, but does a decent job. What else have I got that's a Creed? I've got a travel spray of Club de Nuit Intense Man. Have you smelled that? I'll even throw this into the mix. Mercedes-Benz Select. Another in that vein of Creed Aventus. And then if you want to just kind of jump into the niche as far as what is in that vein, in that DNA, you got Cedrat Bois, which I don't consider it a clone. I think it's in the DNA, in the vein of it, but I don't think it was intending to be a Creed Aventus fragrance. All right. So Midnight Hour is not Creed Aventus as far as what it's taking, what it's doing, where its DNA fully lies. Okay. In order to understand where Midnight Hour really sits, and again, every time I think in songs, every time I hear or say Midnight Hour, I'm going to, for all my gospel folks, I'm going to Fred Hammond's Late in the Midnight Hour. I'm thinking that, right? Forgive the singing. I don't sing. But what this is, in order to understand what this is, you've got to look into who perfumed it. So the perfumer, I've forgotten the perfumer's name, but what they've also perfumed is a fragrance by Mind Games called Blockade. Now, Blockade is kind of in the vein of that Creed Aventus DNA, absolutely. If we're saying that Creed Aventus is the OG, if they are, let's say, the grandfather of the fragrances in that family, Blockade would probably be like a second cousin twice removed, something like that, right? So it's in the family, share some of the DNA, does it a little differently. It does mango versus the pineapple and some other things that are in Aventus. Blockade does it differently. The perfumer who did Blockade is also the perfumer that did Midnight Hour. So these share the same perfumer, and there are some points where this matches, where these kind of connect. So this, in my opinion, is more of a remix of this Blockade, which I'll put them both out there. And I think it's easy to say it's a remix because when we look at, if we're keeping it kind of in that musical vein, there's the OGs and then there's the remixes. Typically the remixes are going to take the OG song, the OG whatever, in a slightly different route that hopefully is better. In music, hopefully your remix is better than your OG. Doesn't always work that way. If you think about, for example, for me, for all my hip hop heads, Scenario by A Tribe Called Quest, the OG, right? The OG was better than the remix, right? The OG had Busta coming on there, rah, 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 like a dungeon dragon, change your little pants, drawers because your pants are sagging. You had that right there set it off. That right there made that song memorable and great. Scenario remix was good, but it was never as good as the OG in my opinion. So that's what this is. This is a remix of this, and it definitely doesn't remix it better, okay? So when we're looking at this, talking about this, for example, for me, am I saying that this is horrible? No. So just to kind of refresh myself, and I've been testing this for a couple of days just because I was like, I first smelled it and I was like, okay, I see where people are saying, but I needed to spend some time with it, right? With my fragrances, I like to spend a little time, especially if I'm giving you guys reviews, letting you know, again, these are unfettered, these are unbiased opinions. These are, the way I look at it is this. You guys are watching myself and other content creators for insight, for suggestions, things of that nature, and chances are you're going to spend your money on some of these fragrances. So I don't want to tell you everything is great if it's not great. Hopefully as you've watched, and I've told you some of the things that I like, some of the things that I don't like, some of the things I regret, some of the things I absolutely love. It's giving you the impression that, listen, my integrity is I want to tell you what's actually happening with some of these fragrances so that you go in prepared, right? Now, as far as the price, as far as what this is, it's not going to break your budget. $20 at Burlington, you might find it for $20, $25, maybe even up to $30. It's not going to break your budget, or hopefully it's not going to break your budget, right? But what I want to prepare you for is that if you're getting this thinking that this is a Creed Aventus clone or dupe, it's not that. Is it in the family? Yes. This is more Blockade, okay? So I'm gonna spray it here. Good atomizer, not Burlington, Banana Republic, their atomizers are decent. With this, what it does, you get the mango up front, but it's a punchy mango. And when I mean punchy, I'm not saying like fruit punch type of mango. I'm saying it assaults your nose. It hits you. It basically lets you know that it is there for sure. Now I'm gonna have this right here. I've got another test strip that I'm gonna put the Blockade on. This is the Mind Games Blockade. So we can really compare. You still get the mango here, but the mango's more subtle. The mango doesn't hit you in the nose. This is like a punch in the nose. It lets you know that it's there, okay? Now, mango is where they have, as far as their top notes are the same. The Midnight Hour, I think, has ginger and green leaves or green leaf up top. The Mind Games Blockade has, if I remember, it has like pink pepper, bergamot, mango, and something else up top. So there's some similarities, but this mango hits a little harder. And I'm curious if it's the green leaf or if it's the ginger. There's something that's giving it almost, not fermented, but almost spoiled, right? It comes off, it's probably the best way I can describe it. It's almost like a spoiled mango, if that makes sense, which would be fermented, but it's leaning more towards being kind of a spoiled thing. So the mango isn't as sweet, as subtle as it is in Blockade. This is more upfront and more, it's changed, it's morphed, right? It's not a pure sweet mango, in my opinion, right? As far as dry down on this, if you can get it to last past the dry down, it, for me on my skin, and I try and stay moisturized, I try and do those things to help fragrances last longer. It does, if I get it, you know, if it lasts long enough for me to pick it up as a skin scent. You do get this little leather mango type of thing going on, okay? It's not a horrible scent. When it dries down, it's decent. It's just, it's not, of course, as good as this. So if I'm comparing this as a clone, and talking about Midnight Hour, if I'm comparing Midnight Hour as a clone cousin remix cover, and I'm gonna go with the term remix for this, and I'll explain a little further why. If I'm going with this as a remix of Blockade by Mind Games, this is probably about 75% of the way there. This is not a 95%. This is not a close 1-to-1 type of thing. This is different. So they both, and here's what's interesting. Again, I mentioned they both came out by the same, they were both created by the same perfumer. They were both put out the same year, I believe. Now, this is Kevinology. This is my reenactment, my thoughts of what may have happened, okay? If you think about music, and again, I'm thinking about this as far as, let's say that this is a remix, right? Because again, typically the producer that did the original song may do something different, remix it, put it back out, see if they can get a few more plays, a few more streams, with a little more what have you from it. So what probably happened, in my opinion, and this is again, Kevinology, I was not there, I can't speak to it for sure, but what possibly happened is this. The perfumer created something, they went to Mind Games, they had a few things, because they also, if I remember correctly, they also created things like French Defense and some other things for Mind Games. They've created a few things for other brands as well, okay? So I'm curious as to, maybe they went to Mind Games originally and said, hey, this is what's in our crates. These are the beats we got. These are the tracks that we got that we're ready to, you know, that we're producing, that we want to put out for you. Again, stick with music, right? Mind Games was like, all right, give me that French Defense. Give me whatever the other one was. Give me Blockade. Cool. And so then, of course, just like any producer in music, they probably have beats that the original song artist did not choose. The one that they were originally creating them for, they didn't choose it. So they were like, listen, I've got it. Let's go ahead and shop it around, see who else wants it. They probably went to Banana Republic and said, hey, we've got this other thing. It's like Mind Games is about, Mind Games Blockade, which is about to come out. It's a remix of it. Do you guys want it? Banana Republic probably said, sure, we'll take it. Why? And I say that because Mind Games and the budget that I think that they probably have put towards their fragrances is probably a little different, a little better, a little higher than what Banana Republic may put towards their fragrance budget. So in my opinion, when we're looking at Midnight Hour versus Blockade, if you have the opportunity, go with Blockade, right? If you are curious about what Blockade may smell like and you don't want to get a decant, or you don't want to spend the Blockade money, you can get Midnight Hour, but just know that Blockade is going to be a lot smoother for you than Midnight Hour. All right. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that it's horrible. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm not saying that it's garbage. I'm not saying any of those things. It's just, if you go into this thinking that you're going to get a Creed Aventus type of DNA or fragrance for $20, you can use that $20 for other things like Club de Nuit, like Mont Blanc Explorer, like Supremacy, like even Mercedes-Benz Select. You can get some of that same type of DNA. That to me is closer if you're looking for Creed. If you're looking for a Blockade, dupe, clone, cover, remix, you can definitely go with this, but I would probably wait until there was maybe a more bona fide remix, cover, clone of Blockade, which again is interesting because this is made by the same people, the same person that did Blockade for Mind Games. All right. So as far as, just to give you my standard stuff, As far as longevity, it's gonna last for maybe 5 hours. It's not gonna be an extremely long lasting fragrance. Projection, yes, initially that mango's gonna kind of shift the room. It's gonna be there. It's gonna be noticeable. You're gonna smell it again, but it's going to the average nose, it may be okay. Because for me, because I think I feel I've been training my nose. I've been getting my nose kind of on a few different things. I've been working to pick up different scents and really enhance my ability to smell and distinguish between things. For me, it comes off a little not so good, not so right. So as far as sillage, you're going to get some sillage off of it. It's not going to last an over long amount of time, but you will get a nice sillage off the beginning. As far as price, like I said, $20. So it's definitely going to be in that range. As far as blind buy recommendation, I'm not going to give this a blind buy recommendation just because I'm not. I'm not. And that's kind of, especially that should be telling, especially considering the price point on it, right? If you're looking for something within that price point that gives you kind of that feel, you can do that. I think there's other options out there that will give you that Creed Aventus DNA that you may be looking for, which yes, can be somewhat similar to a Blockade DNA. But I would say just stick with those and then maybe wait for something else that comes out maybe a little better. All right, that's my thoughts. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully, I know this one took a little longer, but I really wanted to paint the picture so that you know kind of why I feel the way I feel about this, and why it's kind of surprising. Again, made by the same perfumer, same year, just different. All right, that's it for this one. Listen, if you've made it this far, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe, request notifications, and share. Meet me in the comments. Let me know if I'm completely off. Maybe I have a batch that needs to macerate. I've not run into it for Banana Republic or any of the other fragrances other than like some of the Middle Eastern fragrances that I get. Maybe this is a batch that they rushed out and it needs to mature. Willing to say that. I may give it some time in my collection, just kind of let it sit there, see what it does. But that's just me. All right. Let me know your thoughts. If you've got a different, take on it, let's talk about it in the comments. All right. I'll see you next time. Have a great one. Be blessed. Peace.